Thank God. So the question is, what is your biggest hesitation about learning to DJ, and what are you hoping to learn today? Taking my library off Spotify. Biggest hesitation is I need a bunch of gear. Where to find music? What gets people dancing? Gear. What gear to buy? Putting myself out there. Ooh, expense. Feels like it'll be learning a new language. Yes, it will. Time. Tava, what do you mean by music vocabulary? Curious. Time commitment. What I want to learn is making playlists for an emotional experience, not knowing where or how to start. Well, you came to the right place. Not enough time, not much of a techie, time and expense, all of it. Not getting overwhelmed and depleted. Whether my brain can process all the things. Sky, I feel you. I fully understand. Yes. Brilliant. Yeah, and you'll hear more of both of our stories later on, but I can definitely share out the gate that as a ADHD neurodivergent person, I was like, the first time I ever looked at a controller, I had a panic attack. And I was like, I ran the other direction. I was like, I can't do this. Can't. There's the buttons. It's too much. Good news is it's totally learnable. It is a skill that is simple and requires a lot of repetition. But once you stack up those micro, oh, we turn this and then we do that, and we do that, and you're just doing the same thing every time, as far as the technical stuff goes. So,
and you're in fantastic company. Quick show of actual real hands. Who resonated with something in the chat just now that you did not type? Did you resonate with something someone else said? Yeah, pretty much everyone here. I still resonate with half of it. So you're in very good hands. You're in exactly the right spot. And just to give you a little bit of an overview of what we're going to cover today.
By the way, I'm Tasha.
I'm Meg. I'm Mauro.
We're gonna we're gonna tell you more stories about where how we got to where we are now later. But Tasha Blank, Meg Beatty, aka DJ Mauro, Las Vegas, Denver, Boulder.
You're all caught up.
We're so glad you're here. Welcome.
So we are going to cover a lot today. So a quick overview of what we'll be diving into. DJ Setup 101. So all of you who had oh my gosh, gear is the thing, literally the first thing we're talking about. So do not fret. We're going to go into basic mixing skills. Literally the exact basic transition you need to know to DJ. Everything else that's not the mix we're going to go over today is icing on top of the cake. It's a nice to have, not a need to have. What we're going to go over is the only need to have skill. Music organization and discovery. Where do I find music? How do I organize it? Building a masterful set, right? You can have all the incredible music in the world, but how do I put it together in a cohesive journey that actually, Tyson someone said it, that sustains the flow, that brings people on a journey. Meeting your edge. You'll never find me and Tasha teaching DJing without talking about internal work and soft skills. Then that's really intentional, right? And you can have all the hard skills in the world, but there are things that come up around that, the tender edges, the confidence that can really prohibit that from ever seeing the light of day, from getting out there, from doing the thing. So that's really important. What makes a great DJ? Am I ready to be a DJ? Quick story time if we have time, and then Q&A and next steps. Lots of options to keep diving in even after today. I've got a couple questions of this beforehand, so no gear is necessary for this. You'll have the replay. So the piece of hard skills we go over, you can practice afterwards. If you already have gear, if you get gear. This will be interactive. We'll be asking questions that are not rhetorical. So get your hands ready on the keyboard. And we'll be moving pretty quickly. We're packing a ton into this 90 minutes. So drop questions in the chat whenever you can. Good thing of having two of us is whenever one of us is talking, the other will be air traffic controlling the chat. So drop cues in the chat. When you have them, we'll hit on as many as possible. We'll have a few minutes of Q&A at the end, and an option of where to drop the rest of your questions. So that is what we're hitting today. And Tasha's going to kick us off diving right into gear. Oh, you're muted.
Thank you. Thank you. So I have played for, I guess, 11 years at this point on Traktor. It is a great way to start. I'm now switching or incorporating Rekordbox so that I can play on CDJs, which is like a big club setup, which you don't need to worry about right now. But I love Traktor. It's super user-friendly and you can do a lot of cool stuff with it. It's spelled Traktor. And if you have the Traktor Pro software, you can start with a setup that's as simple as your laptop and a little splitter cable. I'll actually drop the link in the chat right now and we'll include it in your notes for class. But it's this little, I've never used Serato and Meg doesn't use Serato. Do you use Serato? You use Rekordbox. So I'm partial to Traktor. As you can see, the little Traktor splitter cable is $9. And what it basically enables you to do is plug in to your laptop, the audio in your laptop, and it splits it into a cable that goes out to your main out, your master audio, which is the big speakers you're playing into, what people are hearing. And the other one goes into your headphones. So you can cue in your headphones without the audience knowing. The drawback of this is that you do end up having to put it in mono as opposed to stereo. Doesn't really matter unless you're playing on a really, really high fidelity system. So if you're like, I don't really know if I'm into this, I just want to give it a try. It's a really cool way to do it. You could plug it into computer speakers and just do that as a really basic setup. Next level up would be something like the Traktor S2, which is, I think it's like $350 bucks. And then they also have the Z1 and the X1, which are a little bit less. And you can really use whatever over-the-ear headphones you have when you're getting started. If you want to invest in a pair, I use Sennheiser 25s. They're like 125 bucks. They're really solid. Like I've listened to ones that cost $300 and $400. I'm like, I really prefer my Sennheisers. They're just, I buy a new pair every year because I just like wear them out or lose them. So it doesn't actually have to be a huge investment to get going. And Meg, if you want to share yours.
Yeah, so similarly, again, just to recap, really the only thing you need to get started, you can DJ on just a laptop to get started using just software. That's Rekordbox, Traktor. They have different plans, but it's generally going to be between $100 and $200 a year. Tasha and I recommend if you want to learn to DJ, have software and hardware. So by hardware, we mean like an actual DJ controller. I'll show you mine in a second. And that's what Tasha means by the Traktor S2. I use the Rekordbox DDJ 400. And both of those controllers are going to run, to Tasha's point, between $200 and $350. So hardware, software, headphones. That's really all you need. The Sennheiser 25s are amazing. I use the Pioneer X7s, which are also amazing. I also want to note, start with whatever you have. When I was first learning how to DJ, the headphones that I had were a pair of $20 skull candies that I got as a Christmas gift when I was like 14. And like, is the audio quality as good as a premium pair of headphones? No. Absolutely not. But are they a functioning pair of headphones? Yes, they were. So I used those for the first like 4 months. And then I upgraded to like a $50 pair off Amazon and used that for like 6 months and then bought myself a really nice pair. So start with whatever headphones you have, but headphones, software, hardware is all you need. So a few $100 all in. max. And that's all you need to be off to the races. The only thing you need apart from that is music files, right? So you do need music files. We'll go into in a few minutes. I recommend, like, where do I find music files? How do I buy them? And you can, there are some softwares where you can DJ using streaming services, like a Spotify or a Tidal. We recommend actually owning your music. So hardware, headphones, music files. It's all the gear you need. Don't do what I did and get really overwhelmed by like all the different decks and all the different cables. Like, not needed. All you need is hardware, headphones, music files, and you're good to go.
And we're going to get into music files a little later on. Good thing to remember, they all do the same thing. All the controllers, all the softwares, all the CDJs, all the turntables, they allow you to mix one song into another song. It's actually not that complicated. There's a lot of extra fancy stuff that gets thrown on top, but at the end of the day, what makes a good DJ is about that really basic function that they all share.
Mm-hmm.
So, should we do a
little demo moment? All right, so the next 10 seconds is going to be literally the entire way to transition a song. So this is the DJ 400. This is my record box controller that I use. We're not going to go over every piece of this today because you don't need to know every knob and button to actually get started DJing. So very, very quick tutorial. This is you can see these lines right here. There's 3 parts to the controller. This is the mixer in the middle. There's 2 decks. So each deck, we'll both demo on our software in a second. Each deck can load a song, and then the mixer in the middle controls which song is actually playing. So these are the volume knobs. If this volume knob is up and this one's down, this song is playing, right? If opposite, this song is playing. So this is how the magic happens. Say I have a song loaded. Volume's up right here. So this song is playing. These, you can see they're labeled low, mid, and high. That controls the different pieces of the song. So the low is either going to turn up or turn down the bass of the song. The mids will turn up or down the mids. For a lot of music, that's the range of the human voice, right? So a lot of lyrics, a lot of those midtones. And the highs will turn up or down the really high pieces of the musical range. Hi-hats, horns, anything more tinny and crispy, right? So the basic transition is I have a song playing here. All my EQs are up. I have another song loaded on the second deck. It's not audible yet to the audience. So all I'm going to do is use my tempo sliders to make the tempo match. We'll show you this on the software. Make the tempo match so they're both the same tempo. I'm going to use the play button to play the song. Audience can't hear it yet because the volume's not up. I can hear it. I'm going to play the song. I'm going to scoot the jog wheel until the beats line up. Say I play it and it's a little bit off. I'm going to make sure the beats line up. So play, line up the beat, bring it in, switch over the bass, bring the first song out. That's it. That's all it is. So now this song is playing. So I'll select a new song on this deck. And when it's time to mix it in, I'll just hit play, line up the beats, bring it in, switch over the bass, and take this song out. That's it. Your average hour-long set usually has maybe 17 to 20 songs in it. So for an hour-long epic DJ set, that's what I'm doing. I just do that 17 times. That's it. I feel like I'm kind of bursting my own bubble here because I feel really cool when I'm DJing and like I think DJs are really cool, but here to just let you know behind the curtain, be simple.
That's exactly what we're here to do, is demystify. Like I said a couple of times when we were talking about this course, the thing that people think is going to be really hard is not that hard. That thing, it's like really basic, actually. The thing that's hard is holding the nervous systems of 500 people in a room and inviting them into the unknown and to like burst out of their comfort zone and into something they've never experienced before. That's where the real like learning and growth curve occurs.
Mm-hmm.
But today we're here to talk about the basics. So,
just to Tasha's point, like, show of hands, who's pretty damn, and I know this answer for all of you, so it's a little bit of a cheat question, but still, show of hands, who's pretty confident that given 30 to 60 minutes, you could learn the sequence of button pushing that you just saw? Yeah.
Yes.
You got it. Great.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see you all behind the decks. Just kidding. But actually, that piece is, you got it. Anyone's got it. To Tasha's point, and we'll get to this more in a bit, what changes someone who can execute on the hard skills of a DJ versus someone who's an excellent all-time DJ that's changing hearts and souls and minds. The difference there is not that the second group has a ton of hard skills the first one doesn't have. The difference there is the mastery of the journey and nervous systems and connecting with people.
So yeah, there's no rules when it comes to BPMs, although there are some best practices. And just to be clear, like we're going over this piece of this hard skill very quickly. You're not meant to like get it down right now. We're just being like, here's the thing. And then you'll be like, oh, I saw what the thing is. It's not that big a deal. Yes. All right, here we go. I'm going to come at you with a little demo in Tractor. Sharing screen. Here we go. All right. So as you can see, what we have here is a track here, a track here, and a mixer here. So there's the same functionality on this screen as what you just saw on Make's controller. The difference is that we also have my music library down here where I can choose the songs. And this is why we have to have a laptop, because that's where the music files are stored. And then the controller enables us to like get our hands on the buttons and knobs up here. So I'm gonna start here with track B. As you can see, all my track info is up here, the song name, the tempo, the length of the song. And I'm gonna hit the headphones so that it's playing in my headphones, even though the volume is down. And so that means that the audience cannot hear it. When I'm ready to fade it in, I'm gonna just bring that volume up. And as you can see, I like to keep my bass on like generally up a little bit. I like things a little bassy. If I wanted to take it out, that's what it would sound like. Taking out my highs would sound like this. One last sentence. Give me kisses. Give me a chance. Here's what it sounds like when I take out the mids. And when I bump them up. All right, you get it. So now, what I am seeing about this track that I want to bring in is the tempo's up here. You can see they're different. We've got 121, we've got 124.55. And so I am going to use this little slider to bring it down to 122.16, and I'm going to bring this up to 122. Close enough. 0.17, 0.16, totally close enough. Because remember, this is beats per minute. So this is literally how many times per minute there is a beat that's happening. So 0.01 of that, very, very small amount. And as you can see here, I can see like a up close part of the track here, and zoomed out, I can see the entire track here. And for the sake of this demo, I want to fast forward a little bit in the track. So I'm just gonna, you can see here's where we are, this red line here. Just gonna click here. And as you can see, I can jump around places in the track without the beat getting messed up, which is a really nice feature of Tractor. And I can see that there's bass coming in right here. I can see that there's like, there it is. That's where the song kicks back. And I'm counting 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then I'm gonna, on the 1, hit this at the same time. 5, 6, 7, 8. So now, I'm gonna take out the bass on this one. And as I bring it up, the beats are synced because I hit the 1 at the same time as this one. So you almost can't even tell that I'm bringing in another track, but you can start to hear some of those melodic elements. And I can just slowly bring up that bass ever so subtly. And there we have it. This is the beautiful thing about house music, which is what I'm playing right now, which is it's this like really groovy, like 120 to 130 BPM kick drum, like steady rhythm, simple melodic elements. And when you get two songs that are in the same key and you mix them together, they just, it's like they make love. It's so juicy. And I'm just gonna fade this one out. Boom. So I mixed one song to the other. I'm gonna fade it out. And there you have it. That's the secret. That's it.
Class
That's it.
over. Just kidding.
Bye.
Go forth and prosper. Just kidding. I won't do a full demo, but I'll just show some quick differences in the record box software. Some of these are also available in Tractor. You'll notice my two, these are called waveforms, are stacked on top of each other versus side to side. You can also adjust that in some different softwares, but this is just my preference. Here, this is also helpful. I'm not going to play this volume, but you can see that, oh, if I play, these are, let me just make these tempos the same for the sake of a quick visual. If I play both of these, I can visually see that these beats aren't synced up, right? You see those white bars on the beats. So I know that if I bring the volume up, it's going to sound like, oh my God, what's happening? So that can also be a helpful visual cue. I mean, like, oh, that's not beat matched. So remember those jog wheels I was just showing you earlier on my hardware? What I'm doing is I'm just scooching the edge of them until it is beat matched. That's literally all beat matching is. It is just, oh, those beats aren't happening at the same time. Great, let me scooch the edge of my jog wheel until they are. That's all it is. Also can be one of the more intimidating skills of DJing, but that's literally all it is. And there's very little to no risk, again, because you have control over what the audience is hearing or not. So you always have the time to just leave the volume down for the audience, just listen to your own headphones and be like, okay, cool. Nope, still not there. Nope, let me adjust more. Okay, cool. Now it's beat matched, then I'll bring it up.
So good. To answer your question, Sky, so if you guys want to go more deeply into learning these skills, and you're totally new to DJing and you want those essential skills, we have a class called DJ Essentials, which we'll send in a follow-up email. I'll also drop it in the chat here. And that is a 3-hour class that really breaks down like every little bit of it. Please note, just in case you're interested in PhDJ, DJ Essentials is included. We also have a whole skills bootcamp. So if you're wanting to go down this path, you have some good options. Perfect. Thanks, Meg. Okay. Next up.
Music, organization, and discovery. Where the fuck do we find music?
Where, how, what? Music has changed so much in the last 10 years. Like, who here actually owns music files? Few people. Okay, cool. Okay, great.
I didn't before. I mean, I do, but I didn't before I was a DJ, so kind of doesn't count.
Yeah. Love it. So we highly, highly recommend owning music files. Like Meg said, they are now evolving softwares where you can DJ while streaming. I don't trust that. I also DJ at places where there's no Wi-Fi. So I really encourage you to have your files on your computer, which is also a really beautiful way of cultivating a relationship with your songs.
Which is so important.
So important. And really encouraging you to cull your music library. So when I first got into DJing, and I think this is true of Meg too, we had this idea of like, oh, if I'm going to be a DJ, I need to have like a terabyte of songs. Like all the DJs we knew, all the like music heads we knew had so much music. It was like, but I don't have that much music. And that's
hard drives.
And so intimidating. And what I've actually found over the last decade of doing this is the less music I have, the better. I try to max out at about 2,500 songs. Once I go over 2,500 songs, I go in and I delete a bunch because I want every song in my library to be a song that I know and that I love and that I trust. Like, I know that there is not a single song in my music library that would be embarrassing if I put it on in front of a crowd of people. So even when I'm putting together a set and I feel overwhelmed and I'm like, oh my God, there's going to be like 500,000 people there. And are they going to like it? You know, all the little voices that come up every time. I know that every track in my library is solid. So super, yeah.
And just to contextualize that, just to drive home the point that you really don't need hard drives and hard drives, let's take Tasha's 2,500 songs. Let's say she plays an hour-long set every night, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for a year straight. And she never repeats a track. She would barely hit 2,500 songs in that year. So truly, you don't need hard drives and terabytes and terabytes of music. You really want curation over quantity.
It's really like a closet. Like I also use the 1 year rule. Like if I haven't played something in a year, I get rid of it. There's songs that like I was holding on to for a few years because like maybe I'll play it in some random circumstance, but then I went, third time I've passed through it in my library culling process. I'm like, still haven't played it. It's gonna go.
So in case you aren't getting the point, curate your music library. Our biggest first tip for music discovery and organization is be picky. Be picky, picky, picky. So in terms of, okay, you have a music file. We'll go through some of our recommended sources here in a second, but you've downloaded 10 music files. Cool. You drag them into your iTunes. How do you organize from there? So I'm just going to share my iTunes and kind of show you some ways that we go about this. Not one right way at all. Take what serves, leave what doesn't. Let me just share. So I've got all my songs in here, right? I think I have around like 1,500 right now. And you'll see for each one of these, let me just click into one. Every time I download a track, I make sure the info on it is really correct and really clean. So the genre that it by default exports with, maybe like 2/3 of the time it's correct. The other times I'm like, this is not a trance song. Like, this is not a techno song. So I'll change it, right? Because I'm using that for organization. And so what matters there is that it's organization that works for me, right? I'm also using the grouping field to put in my own notes. So again, like the words that I use for categories are totally different than the words Tasha uses, or are totally different than the words other DJs know use. But this is what is really helpful for me. Like, I know that if I label a song groovy, I know exactly the type of musicality that means to me. I know exactly the type of energetic, I know the type of musical style. So it's really helpful for me to have all of those in one list. Make sure the BPM is correct, etc. Because all of this information is really correct and really clean, highly recommend doing this as you accrue music. It takes a long time to go back and do this for like hundreds of songs at a time. But if you do it for downloading a track here, downloading 5 tracks here, it's really doable. So keeping all this really up to date. From there, there's playlists that I make. These are like manual playlists. So I have some upcoming gigs. I have a mix in mind that's like all like very Berlin dark techno. So I'm just like creating a playlist there, upcoming gigs. So I'm just manually creating these playlists. I'm just dragging songs in that I'm vibing with. Another thing I really use though, you'll see here the icon is different. It's not a music note, changes to a gear. These are smart playlists. So you go to File, New, Create New Smart Playlist. This basically allows you to create a playlist based off any rule. So like, hey, drag any song in here whose genre matches this. Hey, drag any song into here where the grouping comments contain the word groovy, et cetera, et cetera. And those update live. So anytime that I add any descriptor to any track, it automatically pops into all the different categories that I have for it. So you can see here, I have a ton of different smart playlists set up for genre. I have a ton of smart list playlists set up for like just my language that I use. Like, okay, I know that all of these are going to be rippers. All of these are going to be sunrise or sunset tracks. It's all super helpful there. I also have them organized by key, organized by the score that Tasha will go into here in a second. So that's how I keep my music library really updated. Again, really key piece is just staying on top of correct information for each music track as you go. And then from there, as long as you have a strong smart playlist taxonomy, it really does a lot of the work for you, which is very helpful, which we like.
I just want to note that Meg just dropped the phrase playlist taxonomy. Just appreciating you.
Love it. So in terms of music sources, a good go-to, probably vying for the #1 slot for me and Tasha's go-to is Beatport. Beatport's got, especially in the realms of house, electronic, Beatport's going to have a lot of tracks you're looking for. TrackSource, Bandcamp, Amazon also will have a ton for you. If those tap out, the next thing I recommend you do, it sounds really simple, but it pretty much always hits, is literally type into Google title plus artist name plus by MP3. And if the MP3 is on the internet, it'll pop up. That's really helpful too, especially when you're getting at maybe more niche genres of music or a lot of like international music. Like there's some really juicy Afro house that's on like specific Afro house websites and not on some like larger aggregators, or like older tracks. A lot of like hip hop bootleg remixes are going to be only like on some like weirder, smaller sites. So those are the main sources that we usually use to buy music. And then in terms of music discovery, again, your gold sources are going to be kind of your basics. So for me, I use Shazam a lot. If you're not aware, auto Shazam is also a thing. So if you, instead of just hitting it once, you can press it and hold, and it'll just have Shazam stay on. So if I'm out at a set and the DJ is really hitting, I'll just turn auto Shazam on, put it in my pocket, forget about it. And then by the end of the night, it's grabbed every track. We love. So auto Shazam's a fave. SoundCloud is also a fave, right? So a lot of great DJs that I love and follow aren't going to put, like, they're for really juicy mixes that they record. Those aren't going to be posted really anywhere except SoundCloud or Mixcloud. So just listening to their mixes. A lot of them have track lists in the comments. If not, I will Shazam while I'm listening to their mix on my computer to get the track. So that's a great one. And then really can't sleep on Spotify. It is what it is. A couple of my favorites there are, especially when I've created a playlist I really love, at the bottom, Spotify will auto-populate like, hey, we recommend you add these too, that are like based on the vibe of the playlist. Find a lot of gold there. Another thing you can do is you have a whole playlist you like, you can click select and then, hey, Spotify, create a new whole playlist based off of this one. That's been great. And then for a lot of DJs or artists I really like, a lot of them on Spotify have like their own curated playlists, like selects of Nora En Pure, selects of Rufus Du Sol. So I can go listen to like what's inspiring them, where they're getting their juice. And that's been a lot of gold as well. Anything you'd add to that, Tasha?
I would just add that when I can buy from Bandcamp, I do, because a higher percentage of proceeds go to the artists. So if you can get it on Bandcamp, get it on Bandcamp.
Got to give the artist some love.
Yeah.
Got to give it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Shall I jump in to our next section? Okay, great. So I'm actually going to share my screen and show you, wait, I'm going to show you my library. So as you can see, kind of a similar vibe. We've got, so I like to use emojis. I use little asterisks. These are all, this tells me that I have played this song at Body Language. This tells me that I have played it at the Circle. This tells me that I played it in the Portal. Like when I want to be like, yes, Tasha, you've played that at that thing that the same people go to over and over again. Let's not play it all the time there. That's how I remind myself. Also, these little lightning bolts mean that these songs are just extra lightning bolty for me. And instead of grouping, I use genre to list my categories and keywords. Similar and different from Meg's, we have our own keywords because our brains and our nervous systems relate to our music in unique ways. One thing you will notice that we share in common is that we have these numbers preceding our keywords. And if I scroll up here to my smart playlists, you will see that I have a smart playlist of 1s and 2s and 3s, 4s and 5s, 6s and 7s. And what those are pointing to is something that we call the score. And I'm not going to go into the score very deeply right now because it is pretty complex and it's really what we go in. That's what PhDJ is. We go very, very deeply into it. And it's like the art and science of deep set crafting and creating a set that transforms bodies every single time. It's the science of that. It's a formula that works. It is a similar formula, similar reason to why a movie like Star Wars or The Matrix keeps people glued in their seats. Similar reason to why people who come to Body Language or one of my or Meg's sets anywhere, or really any of our graduating PhDJs, now that they've all learned it, it's why those bodies won't be able to leave the room, because it's storytelling directly to the body. So it's combining a few different frameworks that I'm not going to go super deep into because it's just a huge can of worms. But a really useful takeaway and a good starting place for you to start thinking about it is just this concept of using music to tell a story. And so I'm curious, when you hear the word storytelling or what a story is, what do you think of, especially in this context? Type it in the chat. Oh my gosh, curation porn. Yep. Really into it. Stories in the body, hero's journey, emotion, flow, embodiment, beginning, middle, end, the arc and trajectory, arc. Yes. Brilliant. Exactly. You're nailing it. So that's where we're going to start, is with that idea of a beginning, a middle, and an end, or an arc. In every story and on every dance floor, we start with the known. Whether we're meeting a main character in their sort of status quo life, or people are showing up to your dance floor with a certain emotional state, a certain set of beliefs about who they are that they think is static. Like, this is the known. Certain things that happen that day, like this is status quo life. And what the dance does and what our sets do is invite them into the unknown, And what do you think that unknown is? Drop it in the chat. Any ideas? What's the unknown? Where are we going when we invite people into the unknown on a dance floor? Vulnerability, truth, emotional feeling, soul, the middle, ecstasy, into themselves, surrender. Connection with their own bodies, being present, pure fun, to their barrier. Yeah, so none of these are wrong. Where I'm going with this is that the unknown is the body. As I think it was Gabrielle Roth who said, there's 1,000 miles of unexplored territory between our heads and our feet. And there is memory and trauma and emotion and expression and pleasure and power and so much that does not get to be expressed in day-to-day life. And so when we invite people into their bodies on a dance floor, we are inviting them into like every place they've been avoiding while they've been trying to pretend to be normal. And our DJ sets get to usher them safely into that place for doing it right. And there's a lot that goes into that, including like tracking the nervous systems in the room and titrating how we're using the energy, how we're like building the energy so that it's not too much too fast, so that it brings them up at the right pace, so that they don't get lost swimming in one place. Brings them into contact with parts of themselves that maybe have been lost or forgotten. And then brings them out back into connection and back into, oh, right, we got to walk out onto the street, back into our lives, carrying that connection to themselves. So walking back out changed with more than they walked in with. And that's really what they're doing. And it's the coolest job in the world. And when you see those numbers on our playlists and on our track infos, that's what it's pointing to, is to the score and how we do that. And let that percolate. Let that percolate as you continue to explore.
And I think the only thing I'd add to that is notice that nothing Tasha just said about building an incredible set had anything to do with a specific genre or a specific BPM. Because what we're experiencing in our body is a sense of, oh, this feels familiar. Oh, we're going somewhere. Oh, whoa, where are we now? Oh, I feel like I want to celebrate. All of those moments can happen at thousands of different genre points and BPM points, right? So that's my invitation to you as this percolates. Notice, and as you're listening to music, how it feels in your body. Where do you feel like you're at in the story? What does a certain musicality evoke in terms of where you feel like you're going, where you feel you are in the arc? Because that's what matters. That's what matters. The bodies on the dance floor aren't saying like, oh, wow, we just mixed a 2017 disco funk track into a 2017 disco funk track. I love that. I'm having a great time. Like, that's not what's happening on the dance floor, right? All those bodies on the dance floor are experiencing is, oh my gosh, that felt amazing. And now this feels like exactly where I want to be now, right? So notice that as it's percolating. Try to start to build the wiring when you, in your relationship to music, or orienting to it mostly around how it feels and letting that dictate how you use it and where and when you play it over a BPM or a genre. Awesome. So, nervous system, our favorite topic. Nervous system sluts over here. And the reason why this is very intentionally part of a what do you need to be a DJ masterclass is because it is so important. Some of the biggest pieces that get in the way of budding DJs actually doing the thing is not the hurdle of hard skills. I mean, I just saw all of you raise your hands 20 minutes ago of like, got it, right? Very learnable. That's generally not the hurdle that comes into play. The hurdle that comes into play is all of the stuff in our nervous systems, the stories that come up around that, right? The tenderness of getting out there and doing the thing, the vulnerability of putting yourself out there, asking for a gig, the ability to regulate your nervous system and understand where the bodies are on your dance floor so that you can connect with them. The discipline to practice and everything that comes up there, those pieces are what get in the way. Like, I went from touching a controller to DJing festivals in 6 weeks, not because I'm a more technically skilled DJ than any other DJs. There are actually a lot of DJs that I know that are way, way better skilled than me, but I've done so much work for so many years to regulate my nervous system and develop the muscles around vulnerability and rejection and still showing up for the thing and getting back on the horse. And like, that's what actually makes it possible. Right. So passing the mic.
Yes. So we can talk about this for a long time. And we have an entire module on this in PhDJ. Like, we spent a whole month on it. It is a rich, rich topic. There's kind of two sides to the nervous system conversation when it comes to DJing. One is what Meg was just speaking about, is like regulating and dealing with your own nervous system, the nerves that come up, the excitement, the fear, and also using that intelligence and your ability to feel and interocept so that you can make choices musically, because it's really about what you're feeling in your body that informs what you're going to play. And it's your connection to your body and your nervous system that enables you to be tuned in enough to craft a set that's connected. The other side of that is that you're holding a room full of other nervous systems that are all unique and that are not going to go on exactly the same journey. And so understanding how the nervous system works is really important, because I think that it's really important to know what you're actually dealing with. No matter how cute or charismatic or cool the people on your dance floors look, they're each carrying trauma. They're each carrying deep desires and longings. Like, they're a whole fairy forest of stuff. And we could talk about it for a long time. For now, we're going to focus on our own nervous systems. Like, what comes up when we think about DJing, when we show up to DJ? Like, what are your blocks? What comes up for you when you meet your edge around DJing, whether that's buying a controller, whether it's booking more gigs? What's the next step? Where do you hit a roadblock? Drop it in the chat. We invite you to be brave, tell the truth. Insecurity, fear of losing the flow, feeling like I have to commit now that I bought the gear and turning it into an actual thing. So that is a thought. I'm curious, what is the feeling? Where is the block and what does it feel like? Buying stuff. Right, so a lot of these are stories. Okay, hesitant, that could be a feeling. Fear, imposter syndrome, freeze, trusting an emergent arc in the moment. Trusting yourself to be spontaneous. Totally on point. F good. Overwhelmed. Tight heart. Aw. Cool. Okay, so here's the really, really good news. Because often there can be this sense of like, I need to get rid of this fear before I do the thing. Or I need to like stop being so overwhelmed so that I can like calm down enough to do it. Oh, Fred, thanks. Cool. And especially when it comes to doing stuff that's new and putting ourselves out there in big ways that are vulnerable and dealing with the possibility of getting rejected or like, what if they don't like my music? We get nervous. We get activated. We get charged. And the great news that I really want to share with you, and like if you were to take anything home from tonight, like this is such a gem. Being a powerful space holder, giving people the impression that you are grounded and that they're safe with you, actually doesn't correspond to you being in a specific state. What it corresponds to is you being present with the sensations that are happening in your body. That sensation could be overwhelm. That sensation could be nervousness. It could be like, I'm almost shaking, but I'm so willing to feel that I'm shaking that I can use it as fuel and I can bring it forward to you. And it's actually safe for me to feel charge. It's the fact that I'm connected and with what's here now and with and coming from my body that gives other people permission to connect to their bodies and get with the sensation that's there. Because that's where the magical dance journey is going to come from, is when they connect with what's alive in them and get willing to follow that thread.
And like,
yes,
it all happens. I've cried behind the decks. I've screamed behind the decks. I ripped off my shirt behind the decks. I've like squatted down to like hydrate and like have a breathe moment behind the decks. And that over and over, I had people come and tell me like, oh, that gave me so much permission. Because like, oh, turns out like I actually wanted to just like go a little crazy too. So it gives a ton to Tasha's point, instead of trying to like regulate to get back to like, oh, cool center DJ, if I just go into it more. I've been on the mic and my voice has been shaking and been like, oh my God, I'm so nervous. And I've said that out loud. And again, it just gives so much permission in the space. And the other thing I'm noticing, I notice, a thread of a lot of the bump up of what if it doesn't land? What if people don't love the music I love? What if my mixes suck? And I would just love to, I'm going off script a little bit, But I would love to invite us all just into like a little kink moment around that, because it's gonna happen. Y'all, my first mix was so shit. Tasha knows, I emailed her. I still have the SoundCloud link if anyone like wants a really, really cute lol. It was so shit. It was so bad. Oh my God. And I'm so glad I have it recorded, because I can look back and be like, oh my God, sweet Meg. And like, I've played tracks that have killed the dance floor, and it will happen. And those aren't things to be afraid of at all. Those are moments where you just be like, well, let me keep on rolling. Learned something great there. And looking back on it, all of those are moments of like incredible LOL. I've stopped the music on accident DJing live, like you name it, it's happened. So I would just invite a reframe around, instead of those being like super scary things that prohibit you from doing the thing, those get to be like the beautiful rites of passage that 2 years from now, you as a kick-ass DJ get to turn around and tell a newbie, don't worry, I've been there, you'll be there too. It's still fun. Okay, soapbox over. So from this moment, I just would love to invite you. I'm sure everyone can think of DJs that they've seen. And if I ask you, hey, think of a fine DJ versus think of a super kick-ass DJ that you've seen, of like, oh shit, something more is happening with them than just playing tracks. What do you know? What do you think's the difference? Like, what do you notice? What makes an excellent DJ over a great DJ? What makes an excellent DJ in your experience?
Yes. Energy they exude, super present, looking at the crowd, reading the room, embodied presence, all in, deeply connected. They take me for a ride, showing up consistently. Feel the energy of the room. Something personal, the way they control and move the crowd, who loves what they're doing. Both DJs at the last Body Language in NYC were women, but they're feeling what they're putting out. Yes. They're feeling the music.
Mm-hmm.
Spot on.
And notice, Tasha's going to dive into this, but note it, all of what everyone's saying, absolutely dead on. And even in your experience, like everyone in the Zoom call has been on many dance floors. All of us know what makes like an epic DJ versus just a fine one. And it's all in the chat right now. None of this, just to reflect even in some of the other chat moments we've had, even just in the last hour, none of what anyone's dropping in the chat is like, oh my God, they're mastery of hard skills. Oh my God, the fact that they never mess up. Right? Like that's literally not in what any of us experience on the favorite dance floors that we've been on. It's all the experience they're having, their connection to the space.
Yep. And really sort of what I was starting to get into before is like, it's that story crafting and connection to, you could call it a lot of things. You could talk about it in a lot of ways, but what I really feel like, it's like this mycelium, like nervous system network where we all feel each other's internal states. It's electricity. It's learning how to tap into that and move it and use sound to work with it masterfully. But before that, like, what are the raw components to becoming a dope DJ? You have a really deep connection to dance and music. It's maybe changed your life. You could nerd out on this for days. You're like, I love this. You love making playlists. You make mixtapes as a love language. And you feel deeply. Maybe you consider yourself highly sensitive. Oh, why, thank you, Meg. There we go. Yeah. Yeah, drop a 1 in the chat if you're resonating with this. Yes. Mm. DJ empathy. I love it.
Fucking go.
Yes. Welcome. You made it. You have everything you need. I think that we have time for stories, Meg.
We do. We nailed it.
Yes. So we're going to give you just like a little bit of our origin stories because it can help demystify the whole thing. Mine, I mean, you kind of trace it back a long ways, but I'll start at the part where dancing saved my life when I was like 20. I say that because it returned me to a level of self and empowerment and happiness and vitality that I hadn't felt since I was a little kid. And I'd grown up as a trained classical dancer. Like dance for me was a very soul crushing, debilitating thing for many, many years. And I quit, kind of spiraled downward even more. Turns out quitting dance wasn't quite the solution I thought it would be. And I rediscovered it at Burning Man, totally fell in love. And I started throwing dance parties. And I started going to 5 Rhythms. And I started going to ecstatic dance. And I was throwing dance parties for a couple of years and hiring DJs and telling them what to play. So embarrassing. And I had several people in my life be like, Tasha, you really should just be a DJ. And it was so far away from being a possibility in my head that it just went right over. It did not even land. Because to me, all the DJs I had seen were men. They knew how to play vinyl. The women DJs that I had seen were models. And I was like, well, not a model, so probably can't be a DJ. And it literally took, y'all. My partner at the time had DJ'd in the past. He had a old pair of CDJs and DJ mixer from like the 90s. And he went to Guitar Center. They'd been sitting in the closet forever. He went to Guitar Center and traded them in for a tractor, brought the tractor home, put it in my lap, and was like, you need to fucking do this. Because it was getting ridiculous. I was throwing all these parties and like refusing to learn. But that's how scared I was. And that's a huge part of why we're offering this class is like such a big, like once I said yes and got willing to, I was like, wow, this is going to be a little awkward for a little while. I don't know what these buttons do. I'm going to have to like be kind of dumb at this till I practice enough that I'm not. Once I got through that part, I was like, wow, this is a totally learnable skill. Like I just learned how to do this and now I can do it. And from there, it's just about getting better and getting better at all the other things that actually make it interesting. So we really do want to demystify it because there is this barrier of like, oh, DJs are so cool, or like, what are they doing up there? It's like, yeah, not that complicated.
Very fun, very cool, not inaccessible. And a really quick snippet of my story, there's certainly some parallels with Tasha's. We have a lot of common ground, shocker. But some people on this call already know, but I grew up very conservative Christian. So I didn't listen to anything but like modern Christian music till probably I was like 22 years old. Like was homeschooled 10 years, grew up in the church, went to a Christian college of 5,000 kids, like in it. And in my 20s, as I was in a long, deep, painful process of deconstructing and reconstructing, a lot of those threads of the whirlwind I was in kept tracing back to the relationship I had with my body, or lack thereof at the time. And the spot that healed that for me was dance floors. And all over the map. Like I didn't know of conscious dance spaces at the time. So I was having like fucking spiritual experiences in the club, like just, oh my gosh, I can trust my body. Oh wait, oh, that feels good. Oh, I trust that. And like bit by bit, it brought back a sense of body sovereignty and trust in my system. And over the years, like I'm sure a lot of you can relate to, over the years, hundreds of dance floors later, it just became more and more clear. I was like, wow, the DJ has such an impact on that space. Like the way they show up and the music they play and the way they hold that space can make or break. That can make or break if it's a space I want to be in, or if it's a space that's like playing good music, or if it's space that is like fucking healing. And because of the impact those spaces had on my being over the years, I was like, man, I want to be able to do that. Like, I want to be able to bring those spaces to life for other people. Like, I want to be a DJ. I want to be a DJ. And also credit to my partner. He had early last year, he was like, I've heard you mention DJing like twice, and I don't see you doing anything about it. What the fuck? And I was like, fair point. So that's when I bought my controller, and was just like DIYing on YouTube. And to make a very long story short, a mutual friend introduced me and Tasha. And we spent all last summer like diving deep. She was teaching me everything about like her, like, we scratched the very, very tip of the iceberg of it tonight, but just in terms of like soft skills, building experiences, transformational set journeys, etc. And that at the end of that, we met up and we were like, whoa, this is powerful and it fucking works. And that's where the vision for Powerhouse DJ School dropped in.
Wait, I gotta like fill in some gaps around
No,
a bunch.
it's
just
like an hour-long story.
I know, just a couple.
The construct of space and time.
Just a couple. We could really tell this in an hour. So Meg reached out to me. Our friend Andrew Kippen introduced us. She's like, I'm learning to DJ. I want to learn everything you know. And I was like, tell me about what you want. And she was like, I want to create. And she just laid out this vision that sounded exactly like the Get Down without having ever been. And I was like, well, okay. She's clear. I was like, great. You got any mixes you can send me? And she had made like 2. And
so bad. Like they were beat matched. But
so this is the thing. They were beat matched.
Anything else.
And she could find the one. She was getting the one lined up and they were properly mixed. Beyond that, very unpleasant to listen to. But I was like, I can work with this because I had just spent 6 months living alone in the woods, basically breaking down the score and realizing that I could teach people what I do. And I was like, perfect. Okay, I get to experiment on this woman. And she, within 6 weeks, she was playing at festivals. She had a SoundCloud mix, like go viral. Really, and also to your credit, like your work ethic is stunning. And you were ready. And Meg also brings a lot of incredible skills to the table. Like she's a badass marketing exec and logistics maven and has so much leadership experience. And so we got together at the end of our 3-month container and we were like, yo, this is really powerful.
Yeah.
And it needs to be shared.
Yeah.
And that's how
that's my last decade is the corporate world, marketing, advertising, like you name it, like whatever, all the big ass companies, the 30 under 30 lists. And like, I've loved it. And I was at a point in that. And when Tasha and I met of like, I'm using these skills to make corporations more money. Like not what I want my tombstone to say. So it was a really beautiful confluence of our journeys because I was like, well, I'm great at all of these things, like building teams and building businesses and marketing and branding. And I want to be using those skills to actually build something in the world that I really care about and actually has the impact on humanity that I want to live and die and leave behind. So that's where Powerhouse DJ School came from. Very short snippet.
Yeah. It's been magical carpet ride. Truly. And our first class is graduating tomorrow.
Two of them
So
are
proud of them. Two of them are here.
Michael
Shosh and Michael.
Shoshana. Epic.
Cool. I mean, your questions, your comments in the chat are so incredible, by the way. Like, it's so cool to feel who's here and to feel you with us and just feel you vibing with what we're sharing. It's really cool, really exciting. Great.
So we'll end in a few minutes with clarity on next steps. There's a lot of like juicy options. If you want to dive deeper, Powerhouse DJ School, DJ Essentials, there's a bunch of different options, bunch of different accessibility points. So you'll have a little menu to walk away with if you do want to dive deeper. But before we get to that, we do have a few minutes here just for Q&A. So if there's any questions on anything we covered tonight or beyond, go ahead and drop them in the chat. I'll air traffic control. We'll try to get to as many as possible. But just drop in the chat. Any questions top of mind at all? The mic is open.
Also, if I may non-consensually just put you on the spot, Shoshana and Michael, we do have, like, given that we have some graduating PhDJs in the room, if y'all have questions for people who have been through PhDJ, I think they would be down to answer. Is the score based on the 5 rhythms? Great question. It is not. I have studied the 5 rhythms extensively. I almost became a 5 rhythms teacher and made a very conscious choice not to. Gabrielle Roth is one of my greatest teachers. And what's so cool about the score is it is an overlay of 3 maps that are not the 5 rhythms, but the 5 rhythms can be placed, just like everything in nature can. Like it's a circle, it's an arc, it's a journey. Like really everything in nature follows these patterns. Oh my gosh, so many juicy questions. So let us I'm gonna drop the link to PhDJ in the chat because a lot of the logistical questions are answered there. And
Ella, how do you know when you're ready? Michael and Shosh, if you can just offer like a 10-second answer. Michael and Shosh are going to graduating PhDJs. If you want to like offer a 10-second answer each to that question, I would love that.
I answered her already.
Oh, I see that.
I would be curious to know though, it's be a little more sensitive to her question. If you can define ready for what? Like ready for a course like this or ready to get up on stage? I might have been a little flippant, little wise ass with my answer if I wasn't clear.
I suppose when are you ready to do the damn thing? Just fucking do it.
Like get up on the decks and play for people?
Yes.
You probably will not be ready. Tasha asked me to do body language 2.5 months into our course, and I had barely pressed those buttons. I was not ready, and I said yes anyway. And that was the greatest moment of my life. I still live on that on that deck. So I don't think one can answer that really for you. I think you're gonna say yes, even when it's uncomfortable. That's what this course will teach you.
I will also add that from my perspective, Michael, you were ready. From your perspective, you were not ready because you were terrified.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason that I asked you is because I listened to the mixes you were making and I was like, these are fucking incredible. He's ready for body language. you put the work in and you really showed up for it. And it worked.
Anything quick you'd add to that, Shosh?
I will add that what's happening in my body right now is the minute you said that, Ella, my heart is beating so fast because I have the feeling of not ready every time. And I got to play a live set a month ago for Tasha and Meg, my teachers who I'd been in the course with, and my heart was pounding and yeah, and then the feeling of having embodied that, then I was like, I think I said like, oh, I can change my life. Actually, I said, you can change your life. And Meg said, who can change their life? And I was like, I can change my life. And I stepped into DJing. And I had no experience when I began. I got it all in this course.
Wow.
And you're so good, Josh.
So good.
Thank you.
Ugh.
Thank you.
So
And I'm loving this. Like, this is teaching me stuff always.
I have to steal 30 seconds. I have to tell all of you that watching those first answers come in when you guys asked what you were afraid of, or, you know, that first question that's like, what makes you hesitate? To see all of those answers that we all wrote 7 months ago and to see where we are now is like blowing my mind. I am be witness to me at the graduation day, which is tomorrow, to watch those answers and go, oh my God. Like, I remember that feeling. I remember that intimidation, but like, man, that is just like, so far away.
So far away, right?
Yeah.
love. I'm going to laser a final few to close us out. All the PhDJ questions, excellent questions. Almost all of them are answered on the site page. So give that a read. And if that doesn't answer them, shoot us a note. What is the other one I was going to, how much time do you spend on new music discovery every week? It totally varies. But what I'll say here is it's usually not like a different time block that I need to carve out. Like I'm like stockpiling this playlist here, this mix here, and then I'll listen to it on a drive or listen to it when I'm working. So unless I'm on a call, I'm almost always listening to music. And then when I hear something juicy, I'm like, ooh, let me just pop over to Spotify. Let me save that track to a playlist, continue. So probably a couple hours, but it kind of layered on something else I'm doing. Philosophy on song openers. Really quick hit here. This goes back to what Tasha was saying with the score. My philosophy on song openers, and I don't know if Tasha has anything to add to this, but it's really not genre dependent or BPM dependent. Obviously, I'm taking into account what's happened before me in the night too. But I'm always starting out my song with the energetic of the known. Like, all right, guys, here's the ground. We're here now. Like, a little bit of orientation before I take us on an experience. I'm not going to start the set with a song that's super driving and like, oh, whoa, we're already in mode. Okay, got it. Whoa, where are we? Okay, whoa, right? That can be disorienting. So the feeling, the energetic of the opening song is always a little like, okay, boom, we're here, feet on the ground. All righty.
Another way of saying that is meeting people where they're at and bringing them somewhere new.
Totally.
So what comes next? Really totally depends on what you want. You can bring your DJ skills into so many different arenas. It does not have to be a club. It does not have to be a festival, though it totally can. It could be an ecstatic dance set. It could be at a yoga studio. It could be for a ceremony. It could be a meditation. It could be sober. It could be not sober. It's like really, this medicine is needed in so many flavors. and you're going to serve it in a way that nobody else can serve it. Because your background, your body, your sensibilities, your heart, they're all different and needed. And if you want to go deeper with us, you can, like I said, we have the DJ Essentials class, which I'll drop in the chat once more, which kind of goes deeper into those tech skills that we showed at the beginning. Remember 8 years ago at the beginning when we were doing tech skills? And DJ Essentials is included in PhDJ. PhDJ also has a hard skills boot camp. The first 2 weeks of it is just like really making sure you're super confident and solid in that like mixing thing so that we can go lots of places. And then there's in-person immersion, and then it's 7 months of curriculum and learning and mentorship. And we have Michael and Shosh, and also Alexa, who's not here because she's in Bristol, UK. They're our assistant coaches. They're all MVPs of PhDJ, so we brought them on the team to support next year's cohort. And if you are interested in exploring further, tons of info on the website, which I dropped in the chat. Lots of FAQs answered there, lots of info, and there's an application. And I just am loving, really, really appreciating the level of connection that y'all are bringing to this call. Like, I feel you so deeply. It feels so good to be met. Like, when this is so from our hearts and our truth. And so to feel that be received is just like the best feeling in the world. And we would love to hear from you if you want to send in an application. They're open now. Is there more?
Monday.
Oh yeah. Yes. Next Monday, we are going to start doing, because Megan and I have a lot of fun together talking about stuff. We're going to do a monthly Q&A call. Just because we want
baby.
to. AMA, hot seat coaching. If people want coaching, like that's also something that we both do. DJ, non-DJ. Fred's excited. Love that. And yeah, that's what we got.
We'll
Thank
send
you
out
all
the
so much.
replay. We'll have a PDF included with the replay with notes of all the topics we covered tonight. We'll include also links for everything we just talked about. Monday sign up, DJ Essentials, Powerhouse DJ School. All the links will be in there. And just echoing Tasha, huge thank you for showing up in all your various time zones with all your magic. It feels so incredible to see so many folks just so willing to take a step into your gift, and the world really fucking needs it. So keep us posted. Come in to see all the dance floors you activate.
Yeah, stay in touch. Ping us questions if you got them. We're here. We're excited to see you go somewhere. We love you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.